One night in his trailer, Patrick holds a small vial in his hand, deep in thought. Suddenly, a storm hits, and there's a knock at the door. When he yells at the visitor, he's surprised to hear a woman's voice asking for help to get back to town. After looking around his home, he reluctantly lets her in. The woman apologizes for bothering him, explaining the storm scared her. Patrick hands her a towel, pointing out that she's soaking his floor. He tells her she knocked on the wrong door since his car is broken. She asks about a bus, but he tells her there won't be one until morning. He then apologizes for yelling, explaining that kids often prank him. Desperate for help, the woman asks to use his phone, but Patrick ignores her and offers to dry her clothes on the radiator. As she takes off her shirt, he notices her swimwear and she mentions she was at the beach earlier. He finds it odd she ran barefoot all the way to his trailer. Patrick starts making tea, but the woman again asks to use the phone to call her hotel. He tells her he doesn't have a cell phone but offers a few coins for the payphone at the nearby park, promising to take her once the storm passes. She finds this strange and asks for directions, but he says the neighborhood gates lock at midnight, leaving her unable to leave alone. He explains the residents are scared of robberies, as many are elderly and paranoid. As he lingers on this thought, the woman nervously takes the change and stands up, thanking him for his kindness. As the storm eases, the woman thinks about leaving, but Patrick reminds her of the locked gate, which he can open. Sensing something off about him, she politely declines, saying she can manage on her own. However, the storm worsens again, so she decides to stay a bit longer. To break the silence, she asks about Patrick's life. He explains he moved there after losing his job as an electrician, revealing he quit after an accident with a live socket. As he talks, she finds a compact and a locket among his things. Patrick muses that his experiences have made everyday life feel dull, mentioning how fear and excitement feel the same, and that near-death moments make him feel alive. Curious, he asks where she's staying, and she initially mentions her house before correcting herself to say a hotel. He observes that everything is far from their area, and claims her face looks familiar. He approaches her, noticing she's shaking, and offers her a chance to shower. Though uneasy, she heads to the bathroom but hesitates in the hallway, sensing something strange from the bedroom. Inside the bathroom, she discovers the lock is gone, and fear grips her. She turns on the shower but waits, listening for him. When she hears him moving toward the bedroom, she reassures herself he won't come in and starts to shower. Suddenly, blood gushes from the pipes, causing her to panic, but she regains her composure when he knocks on the door. The water returns to normal, and when he opens the door, she quickly turns away. Thankfully, he just leaves a fresh towel and walks out. When she steps out, she finds him warming soup and has left a sweater for her, claiming it belonged to his ex-girlfriend. He asks about her relationships, but she says she doesn't want one since she can barely care for herself. Patrick wonders if that's why she's traveling alone. The woman admits she does reckless things, echoing his idea that people sometimes enjoy fear. She speculates he might be hiding out here to escape something, thinking people can't truly outrun their problems. Patrick serves her a bowl of soup and comments on her self-awareness, noting some women blame others for their mistakes. She eyes the soup suspiciously, but takes it. As she sits down, Patrick notices her earrings and recognizes them. She doesn't eat, but asks why he was awake when she arrived. He explains he struggles with sleep, saying old age makes dreams into painful memories. To avoid them, he stays awake, but it just makes his bad thoughts seep into reality. While washing the pot, the water strangely turns to blood, but he continues, saying he wishes to be reborn. The water returns to normal just as she looks at the door, wondering how she got inside when the gates were locked. Patrick admits he's curious about that too. Suddenly, there's a loud knock at the door. Patrick looks at it with tears in his eyes and asks her if she told anyone she was coming. When she says no, he peeks outside and finds no one there. To her shock, he locks the door, saying it was just kids pranking him again. Patrick goes into the kitchen, staring at a vial from his pocket. Meanwhile, his guest spills the soup into a boot, suspecting it might be tampered with. As the storm intensifies, the power goes out. Patrick finds a flashlight and guesses a branch might have hit the power line, cutting off the area, including the park. He jokingly says he's afraid to put on his boots to check. Realizing he knows about the soup, the woman apologizes for ruining his boot and offers to clean it. He dismisses her worry, assuring her he didn't add anything to the soup and that she can leave any time. The visitor suggests checking the circuit breaker, and they head to the laundry room together. As he looks at the breaker, he shares a memory of a blackout he had with his sick father, where he feared the ventilator would die. While he's distracted, she spots a hammer with blood on it, raising her suspicions. She also sees scratches on his back and asks about them. He hesitates, allowing her to leave for something to treat his wound. In the medicine cabinet, she finds earrings hidden in a bottle. Recognizing one, she realizes her own earrings are missing. Just then, Patrick walks by, startling her and causing her to drop the earring into the drain. She quickly replaces the others, but before she can leave, she hears a noise from the bathtub. Pulling back the curtain, she finds the tub empty. Feeling uneasy, she tells Patrick she wants to leave. He reminds her about the locked gate and invites her to play cards while waiting out the storm. But she confronts him, asking if he took her earrings. Surprised, he insists they aren't hers. She repeats that she'll leave, but insists on going alone. Demanding he unlock the door, she recalls seeing him lock it earlier. Patrick denies it, and her fear grows, causing her to cry. She begs to go home, but he reminds her she's at a hotel. He questions what he did wrong, listing everything he's done for her since she arrived. The woman refuses to feel guilty and demands he let her out. Patrick becomes angry, ranting about how people like her come into his life and then act like he forced them in. He questions who she is and why she's there. The woman, frustrated, demands the key. Patrick insists the door isn't locked, so she can leave. She approaches the door and checks, finding it unlocked. But when she opens it, the fierce winds of the storm push her back inside. With no choice, Patrick starts dealing cards for a game. He offers her a drink, suggesting she spill her tea into his shoes to make space in her glass. This finally brings a small laugh from her. As they settle in, Patrick mentions she looks familiar, but she insists they haven't met. Instead, she jokes that she resembles any other bartender in a small town, running from something. She asks if he's running too, and Patrick admits he might be, but clarifies it's nothing illegal. The woman reveals she's escaping from her own reality, explaining why she got drunk at the pub before the storm. Patrick recalls her saying she was at the beach first. She confirms that she went from the beach to the pub. He playfully accuses her of cheating at their game, and she laughs, asking if he'll trust her now. Patrick counters that they've both been dishonest, revealing that the sweater she's wearing belonged to his wife, not an ex. He remembers their first meeting when she asked for chips at a gas station. He thought she was homeless, but when he learned she had argued with the cashier, he bought her snacks instead. He kept her belongings after she died from an overdose, which is why he has her sweater. Patrick admits he's enjoyed having her around, saying he's been lonely. However, he mentions she lied about coming from the beach since it's too far to walk barefoot. Still, he's grateful for their conversation, which has made him feel more alive. He offers to take her to the phone booth whenever she's ready. Feeling reassured, the woman raises her glass to drink, only to spot a lipstick mark on it. Suddenly, they hear a loud noise outside, and Patrick rushes out to investigate. Alone, the woman hears a phone vibrating and panics. She discovers a lifeless woman on the bed. Before she can react, Patrick returns, prompting her to hide in the laundry room. She tries to escape through the skylight, grabbing a hammer from the toolbox, which now has no stains on it. She hits the skylight to break it, but drops of blood drip from it, staining the hammer again. Feeling dizzy, she realizes her drink was tampered with. Seeing Patrick move toward the bedroom, she attempts to sneak out the front door, but it's locked. He catches her from behind, but she pushes him away, causing him to fall. She hides under the table, but he pulls her out and ties her arms and legs. Patrick then makes her drink something and places her on the bed, having moved the body. He shuts the curtains, and she struggles against her bindings. He reveals he's watching her, enjoying seeing what women do when they think he's not there. Despite her fear, she finds keys in the other woman's bag and starts cutting through the ties. Patrick explains he met the other woman at the gas station and made up the story about his wife from that encounter. Just then, the woman begins to feel weak as Patrick claims she's to blame for her situation. He tells her he gave her the same substance that harmed the other woman. Desperate, she fights through the effects and crawls to the door, but he grabs her again. She gasps, saying she's going to be sick. Convincing Patrick to move her near the sink to avoid a mess, the woman takes the chance to grab a knife and try to harm him, but he catches her arm just before she loses strength. As she starts to fade, Patrick remembers his first victim, a tourist who came to him during a storm at the beach. She had a tattoo on her ribs. After he hurt her, he waited for the authorities to find him, but they never did, leading him to believe he could act without consequences. He carries her to a chair and covers her face with a blanket, waiting for her to stop moving. Once she is still, Patrick returns to the kitchen, where the radio suddenly starts playing a familiar song. It's the same one that was on in his car when he met his first victim. This triggers memories, prompting him to check the woman's body. He sees the tattoo on her ribs, realizing she is the same woman he encountered before. Shocked, he backs away and suddenly finds himself holding the hammer. When he looks back, the woman's head is stained and her form rises. Terrified, he stumbles backward and trips over the legs of another woman at his table. Crawling away in fear, he sees the ghostly figures of all his victims. When he reaches the bedroom, they vanish, but he gets pulled into the bed. In the darkness, he hears the sound of his father's ventilator until it stops, reminding him of his childhood fears. In the silence, he calls out for his father but hears strange wails in return. Patrick emerges from the bed, covered in marks, and runs for the door, only to be blocked by the figures of his victims. Gathering his courage, he tries to push past them but ultimately collapses to his knees. On the floor, he sees the last woman he encountered still eating the chips he bought for her at the gas station. Police car lights flash outside as someone knocks on his door. Patrick hides in the kitchen, but the officers shine a searchlight into his house, revealing the bodies in his living room. Just as he feels trapped, the ghost of the visitor approaches him and offers a cup of coffee. She then shows him a vial, suggesting it could be his way out. When he doesn't take it, she pulls him back to the table and spills the vial's contents into his drink. She reminds him that he wants to start over. Voices from his past urge him to drink, and when he hesitates, the visitor pushes the bottle toward him, making him swallow. Patrick struggles but eventually slams the bottle back on the table. In an instant, his house seems normal again. No storm, no women, no police. Someone knocks on the door and he glances back at the body on his bed, feeling unsure. He checks and finds it's just the neighbor's kids playing a prank. Patrick discovers the vial in his pocket but sees it's empty. Realizing he actually drank the strange liquid during his vision, he laughs and heads home, where he soon collapses.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay connected with us.